Good afternoon. My name is Mark Arcand. I'm the Tribal Chief of the Saskatoon Tribal Council. I'm here today to bring awareness and attention and education to the Emergency Wellness Center, where there is a letter penned to the Premier of the Saskatchewan, Scott Moe, Minister Everett Hindley, Honourable Minister Jean Mikowski, and Honourable Minister Paul Merriman on February 15th from a pastor in the Fairmont area that is close to the EWC. I'm really disappointed and frustrated with this pastor as he's making false comments and sending letters to the Premier and to media and to our citizens of Saskatoon in regards to some of the statements that he's making. So he's making relevant statements, and I quote in here that says he'd hoped that the shelter would be started something that could be replicated as a real solution. So I'm going to provide facts today of what we do at our shelter and how we do things. So he also states, unfortunately, we know this is not the case. So I'm going to contradict that by talking about some of the things that we do. He also talks about the wraparound services promised at the open house were never delivered. We're going to show you the stats, the data of what we do in our emergency wellness that helps people, specifically First Nations people that are homeless. When we talk about these things, he talks about the shelter that is understaffed, and I can admit he's right in that area because of the lack of funding from the province. However, I have to recognize and give credit to the province of Saskatchewan. They fund the Emergency Wellness Center at $4.2 million a year, which is the largest funding agreement through the province for us. However, we still are at a shortfall for adequate staff and adequate health services. And you'll see through our delivery of services that STC is also contributing in-kind services to offset this program, right? So we also know that there was drugs being used in the facility. We said that publicly, straight up from the start. We know we're dealing with complex people. However, since October 1st, we've eliminated those individuals and everything has gone down. Our occurrence reports, our violence reports have gone down, right? When I look at these things, they're alarming when people make these types of statements. When I look at, he's talking about inside of his letter here that he's recommending tent cities. I disagree with that. I've said it from day one. If you talk to the Saskatoon Fire Department, they've shut down tent cities. They're unsafe. Why would somebody recommend that when people should be living in quality housing instead of in tents? It's 2024. This is bizarre to me and it's unacceptable. And again, I'll say this. I'm going to advocate strongly for First Nations people because those are the majority of our clients, but we'll also stand by and advocate for all people because nobody should be living in tents in a city in 2024 or anywhere else for that matter. Unfortunately, the majority of those individuals are First Nations people. So when we talk about this kind of stuff, it's alarming how somebody can sit behind a laptop and a computer and write letters like this to premiers and to ministers without having proper facts and everything about what we do as a Saskatoon Tribal Council. And I'm here to defend the credibility of the Saskatoon Tribal Council to the citizens of Saskatoon, to the province of Saskatchewan, and to all the people that we serve. He talks about community, that he wants everything that they need for the homeless people. Well, I ask you this question to individuals that are listening to this. Show us the stats and the data of where himself as a pastor, or including when he puts it on his letterhead, the Fairmont Community Church, how he's helped homeless people. In fact, he states in his letter he shuts people out. He doesn't let them in if they're homeless because of their addictions and everything else. It's really frustrating to me when we have a colonial system, especially ran by churches, that has destroyed First Nations people's lives in this province, in this country. And we all know that. Now we have a pastor that's trying to defend these outcomes and these results when a First Nations organizations like the Saskatoon Tribal Council is delivering services in a place where the system that was ran by colonizers and government and everything else has destroyed our people. How is he helping? How is the organization helping? And the answer is they're not. And to me, it's frustrating, and I'm not gonna stand by anymore and allow this to happen to my First Nations people in this city, and in fact, in this province. We show credibility and we show outcomes. And for me, let's get into the facts about what the Saskatoon Tribal Council provides. Right now, dating back to October of 2022, we've housed 60-plus families through long-term sustainable housing, through private landlords, low-income housing, the Monarch Yards, which we call Coda in One. Currently, we have 40 families that we've moved from EWC into that secondary location. Inside of that facility, they have to go through programming to help the families. If they have addictions issues, mental health issues, they're still part of the overall services, but they're not at the EWC. At the EWC, we have paramedics through Saskatoon Tribal Council partnership that come through Mediviv every day to provide service to the individuals. We have a pharmacy that comes and drops off medicines for the relatives that need those medications. It's a known fact. We have nurse practitioners that stop by 2 times a week to help relatives with chronic illness, pains, whatever they need, and support the relatives that are there. We have, through the Saskatoon Tribal Council, employment training services that goes there and helps them with job searches, training, certificates, resumes, everything to try to get people jobs if they want jobs. We have a program called Wichita that works for Home Detox, that supports individuals in that facility at their home if they're not there, or in that facility to help them with home detox. That's sponsored through and funded by the federal government through the Saskatoon Tribal Council. The EWC has an income assistant worker provided by the province that comes there 3 to 4 times a week to work on CIS and SED programs for the relatives. We have Jordan's Principle, that's a federally funded program through the Saskatoon Tribal Council, funded by the federal program, that goes there and helps people with their rent, groceries, if they're moving into houses, whatever they need. That's all coming through the Saskatoon Tribal Council. We have our case plan workers that are there daily helping them with IEDs, appointments, everything else like that. We even provide transportation for kids that need to go to school every day. And when I say this is all factual information that we send to the province through the funding agreement that shows what we're doing as supporting the in-kind contribution from the Saskatoon Tribal Council to support homelessness and everybody in the city that needs support. Then we talk about Coda in One, which is the secondary place that goes on, right? When we look at how we merged from the EWC to the second place, we're actually helping people. We're actually making a difference in families' lives. But nowhere in that letter is there any credit to the Saskatoon Tribal Council for stepping up when there was situations with the lighthouse. There's no credibility. It's always a target on our back to say we're not doing nothing in our city, which I think is wrong. It's disrespectful. And we're a First Nations organization trying to help people. People should be acknowledging us, and I'll give credit to the City of Saskatoon and to the provincial government. We have credibility at the Saskatoon Tribal Council under this working relationship, because we're accountable, we're transparent, we show outcomes, we show results. And at the end of the day, we can't help everybody. People need to recognize that. Our city recognizes what we're doing. We have great relationships with business partners, individuals, people, daily citizens. The province recognizes us as a valued partner in all of this work. Look at our history that we've done with the province of Saskatchewan, homelessness, our child family services, signing agreements, our justice work that we're doing inside of the correctional facilities. We are helping people in the city, and to be discredited by an individual that doesn't bring facts to the premier, to the ministers, to the media, and throws us under the bus and demands that the EWC be funded. We're in negotiations right now to continue the support for the EWC because funding runs out March 31st. But when we talk about these facts, we look at it as a no-brainer that they're going to support the work that the Saskatoon Tribal Council does, because we're providing services to people. Are we perfect? No. Do we acknowledge there's situations that happen in the neighborhood? Absolutely, but it happens in every neighborhood. When you look at, do we all put cameras in our house? Absolutely. Who pays for that? We do as homeowners, not just in Fairhaven. We do this right across the board. Do we have vandalism in our properties? Absolutely. Do we have violence happening everywhere else in the city? Absolutely. Nobody's acknowledging it. It just doesn't happen in one neighborhood. So I recognize that. But when somebody leaves our facility, is it our responsibility when somebody does something to an individual? I don't think it is. But they're painting us with that picture. And that has to stop. Because I'm calling this out as racism, and I'm tired of the bullshit, and I'm tired of the accusations, because this racism and this colonial mentality has to stop. We have to start recognizing and acknowledging what people are doing for people, and I think the credibility that Saskatoon Tribal Council has built over the last 40 years is credible and honorable, and I think we're doing it for the right reasons. So when we look at these testimonials, there's testimonials here from our Emergency Wellness Center from individuals that say how it's helping people. And you can take these, you can take a picture of it and you can put it in media. This is what the general public needs to understand. This is not made up stuff. You look at our website, there was an individual, a family that was highlighted on our website that came from St. Paul's Hospital that thanked us for our homelessness strategy and helping them get a home. They're changing their lives around. Look at our social media feed. They didn't come through our EWC, but they came through another program that helps people right across the board. Look at our White Buffalo Youth Lodge that services 35,000 kids visits a year with no cost to activities. So we have credibility. So I'm tired of all of these false statements and everybody believing, and I want the media and I want the public to be educated about what the Saskatoon Tribal Council does for the city and for the people that we serve. Because these types of letters, I'm tired of people hiding behind a laptop. I'm tired of them sending things. They have every right to do so, but they're going to get challenged out by me now. I've had enough because it's not serving the right purpose for our people, and I'm going to stand up for First Nations people, and I'm tired of the racism. Questions? Thoughts?
You just tweeted out, if you see this open letter as an attack instead of a direct constructive plea for help, you're missing the point. Do you think this is an attack, or do you think he's trying to be constructive?
No, I think it's an attack. Because in his letter, original letter, he says, we're actually not doing anything. Wraparound services. I just explained to everybody all the services that we're doing. You want to see them? We'll show them. You can take pictures of them. And we're going to show that we're doing these services. So he's providing false information without accurate information. So it's an attack. And he needs to be called out on it and say, stop attacking and come into my office and have a sit down and we'll show you the facts. Because when I get calls from residents there, one resident told me, you know what? We didn't know you were providing rides to school for children. That's great. Didn't know all of this stuff. Because false information, when people don't come and talk to me as a tribal chief, instead of attacking and being respectful and being honorable, and quit being angry because you're causing problems instead of helping the solution. So yes, I believe he's attacking us without any solutions.
How do you feel that a pastor is saying this?
Well, I'll say it again. I'm disappointed in the pastor because of the church system that has caused all of our people to be where they're at today as First Nations people. The residential school system. It's still 2024. This is a pastor. He's got to learn to open up his heart and his house, which is the church, and help homeless people that are addicted. Doesn't matter what level they are, complex needs or whatever it is, people need help. Start helping people instead of being critical, and start producing outcomes and results, because the reason why our First Nations people are like this is because of the system from government, from Canada, from residential schools, church-run facilities to take our culture, our language, our identity. And then now we look, it's 2024. That's almost 70 years of destroying First Nations people, and I'm not going to allow it anymore because it's wrong. My family has went through this. Every other family has went through this, and it's still happening in racism from pastors and everybody else. We have to check the accountability of individuals and say this is not correct, and we got to stop this. And I think the education towards the community of Saskatoon will recognize what we do in the city of Saskatoon. No, I'm not. I'm not going to take any legal action against this individual. I'm going to educate people on the rights versus the wrongs. And when we have facts about what we're doing, the community will judge us. And I would say to people, don't listen to everything that you see on individuals that are penning a letter or sending it on Facebook. Come and have a sit-down conversation with the tribal chief if I have time, because I'm busy with all of these programs, and I'm working as hard as I can to help as many people, including non-Indigenous people, newcomers, everybody, Métis people. We're doing the best we can with the lack of funding we have to make a difference in people's lives.
Robert, easing of your burdens and maybe some of those neighborhood issues when these new beds come online for some of the new facilities that we do have coming up here. There's the emergency one and the 15-bed one on Ottawa out there.
Absolutely, and I say this with a lot of credibility to the province. They've made investments. They've made investment in our facility of $4.2 million a year, right? But I started at 100,000, 200,000 3 years ago or 2 years ago to get to where we're at now. But it was through our outcomes and results, right? They've invested in the 30 beds, they've invested in the 15 beds. However, we've got to really illustrate, this is not a cheap fix. This is going to cost money. We need the federal government to support the provincial government, as we do as an organization, to show in-kind contribution to help people. So we're putting cash in the game, right? And we need the federal government to step up, but we also need the province to step up a little bit more, because there's still more work to get done to solve these complex issues right across the board. So is there always a need? Absolutely. Because the more staff you have in place to deal with medical issues, complex needs, criminal activity, police, we need more supports, we need everything to support the community, because at the end of the day, it's about the people's safety, and it takes an investment to make that happen. So we still need some more investments to move forward in a positive direction. So we thank the province for stepping up and making that initial investment.
How do you respond to the community associations there and the pastor who claimed that they have tried to meet with you and or STC on previous occasions and have not been able to?
I've been really busy, and you know, when I look at this whole thing, it's like I'm getting blamed for things outside of the area, right? Like I can't, when a crime happens outside of the area 1 or 2 blocks away, is that really our fault? If you walk out of this building today and you go and there's something happens, is that the Saskatoon Tribal Council's fault? Probably not. It's a situation. We got to call the police. We got to call the people that really monitor these situations and say it's a community crisis. How do we support that, right? Because at the end of the day, I'm just the operator of the facility. I don't own the facility. I don't have I never bought the facility. So I look at this and say, we're always getting blamed, and I think we've got to look at some of the successes we're actually having right now with individuals. Unfortunately, it does come with negative attributes, which is violence, more drug use, everything else. But it's a pandemic across our city, it's a pandemic across our province, and it's a pandemic across our country.
But has the STC or you sat down or spoken with the local community associations?
At the start I did. I haven't done in the future, because all it turns into is a shouting match, because I'm always defending what we're doing, because people are angry. And yeah, they may have a right to be angry. I'm angry when my place gets ransacked or whatever, right? So, but at the end of the day, that's not going to solve the issue. So if these individuals want to sit down and talk about this and show what I'm showing them, I'll show them. I've got nothing to hide, right, in regards to the services. But I don't think that pastor has ever walked through our doors since the opening 4 nights that we had and saying, how you doing? What are the things that, you know, we have security at our front gate, trying to keep all the drugs and the addictions out and keep all the positive and healthy people inside and focus on wellness. So I think at the end of the day, my door is open. I may not be able to meet everybody at the same time, but I'm not going to stand back anymore and deal with this racism or these attacks when we're trying to help people as a First Nations organization. Because we all have to remember, it's usually non-Indigenous organizations that are helping, but now you have a credible First Nations organization that's actually stepping up to help people, including all people. And we have that credibility in the city of Saskatoon.
What do you think about the overall issues with the SIS policy changes and the new harm reduction drug changes?
I think they got to improve, because my theory is SIS, we still have a lot of work to do. SED, we have a lot of work to do, right? However, we got to hold landlords accountable, right? Because we've had slum landlords, we've had great landlords, and we've had tenants that are good, that are bad, right? If somebody can't manage their own finances, we've got a serious situation problem that we have to address, right? So when we need people that are boots on the ground like us, like an organization, to say, what are the challenges, how do we mitigate them? And there's other organizations going through the same problems of how do we make it better, because it's simply not working. When we talk about the harm reduction piece, we've been operating at the STC Health Center for many years now, and we've seen an increase of injection use and the pipes and everything else. And my theory is, I don't want to support people having addictions. I want to try to get people off addictions. There's got to be ways where we can support them so they live a quality of life. Nobody wants to wake up every day and be addicted to addictions and shove a needle in there, or smoke crystal meth every day out of a pipe, right? So really got to focus on the healthy side and trying to get people healthy in these situations.
So I'm sorry, you support the new changes with the drug policy?
Absolutely. I think at the end of the day, it's becoming a pandemic out there, because I think the new focus of one-to-one, you bring in one dirty needle, you get a clean one, right? So hopefully that'll slow things down, but at the same point, I have personal values of not supporting drug use at all, because it's destroying people's lives. So I stand by that statement, because it's not good for people.
How do you feel about
the-
Rob, sorry, how do you feel about Rob the pastor running for councillor? Any thoughts on that?
That's his choice. I have no comment on
And
that.
you think it's connected to anything that's happening right now?
Well, I'll say this, we're not gonna use politics on the backs of First Nations people to support election processes. We're gonna focus on programs and services to help people. So he chooses to do whatever he wants to do. It's up to him. I'm not going to allow that to happen off the backs of First Nations people.
What are your thoughts on the size of the wellness center in Fairhaven? There's been some thought that perhaps 106 beds is a little bit too much, and that's why there are 30-bed shelters that are being proposed now instead of one so large.
So, do you remember when we were downtown?
Mhm.
We were up to 75 people,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So when we were proposed to take on an additional 30 beds, that was because of the closure of the lighthouse, right? Who approached us? The province, right? So they believed in us to say, you can do this because of the work you're doing downtown, because we started from 50 people to 75. So we took on the challenge. We didn't have a location. We couldn't do that in the last facility we had downtown of 75 people. We had to move from there. They bought the facility. They've invested in that for us to do 106 people. We've seen some trials and tribulations in there with complex needs and everything. So since we made the decision of October 1st to eliminate the users, we'll say, and the complex needs, we have been improving drastically with better outcomes and results at 106 people. So people thought, oh, all these people are gonna leave when you have 106. We've been at 106 every day since we've opened, if not more, because we have 5 men, 5 women waiting for beds. If somebody gets asked to leave because of their addictions or whatever, their behavior, we're focusing on wellness. So do I believe that location is too many people? The answer is no. I believe we can take more if it's staffed properly, and with all the services that we've explained, we're helping people, right? We've had people there that have committed crimes, and we've had RCMP come in and arrest people because they were using a false name inside of our facility. So we're proud that we're getting people arrested because they're running from the system and they were hiding in our EWC. We're proud of those things. Can we do more? Absolutely, but we need the funding to do more. We need the funding to have adequate services, adequate safety for the programs and services that we're delivering.
Now, you've previously spoken on the importance of having a shelter in every ward of the city.
Yep.
Hypothetical question here. Do you think if we had a 30-bed shelter in every ward of the city, do you think that would be enough to help?
So what do we have, 10 wards, 30 beds, 300 potentially, but right now I think at the end of the day, if you can see in Saskatoon, the homelessness numbers are rising because people are coming from other cities, other communities, coming to the city because we're the biggest center, we're the largest center, this is central, you know, so they're coming here. So who has to deal with it? we do as the city of Saskatoon. So potentially those numbers might grow, and I look at it and say, at the end of the day, we all share in homelessness as a community, the city of Saskatoon. We all have the same challenges. We look at downtown, we look at east side, west side, it's happening all over. And I think at the end of the day, how do we keep working together to solve this problem? Hopefully we can all solve it, but I don't know if it's solvable. That's the question, because drugs are getting worse, violence is getting worse, crime is getting worse because of the addiction. And we got to address the root problems to really help people.
Is there a concern from the STC if the letter does pick up steam from the government and let's say it does impact services or funding for the EWC in the
No, I'm not worried, because at the end of the day, we're in negotiations right now, and we send our reports in a timely fashion to the provincial government on the funding received. So they get our outcomes, they get our results, they see what we're doing. There's never been a discrepancy from them to say, hey, you're not doing this, you're not doing that. We're following the terms and conditions, we're doing that kind of stuff. We're providing actually above the terms and conditions. So I think we're showing great leadership, and unfortunately they're only year-to-year contracts, so we've got to go through this process just like any other organization. But I'm confident that we'll still continue the funding. Hopefully we get more funding, that's the wish, but I'll give a lot of credit to the provincial government, Minister Gene Mikowski. He's been taking homelessness on the chin, but he's actually made a significant investment to us at the EWC and the Saskatoon Tribal Council. And when I talk about the 60-plus families, everything else that we've done, we're making an impact. So I think they have a good return on investment about how we're helping people. Is it perfect? Probably not. But go out there and show me any organization that's doing a perfect job. Because if they did, there'd be no homelessness. And right now, that's not the case.
Could you talk a little bit more about how things have been since the changes were made to not have people with complex needs?
Absolutely. Since we made the complex needs decision of October 1st, we've increased on the safety side, because now children are not seeing people outside shove a needle in their arm or smoking crystal meth through a pipe. And our biggest focus is we were trying to accommodate those individuals at the start, but it just went sideways because they abused their privilege, I would say. They take it too far. Now we've decided that it's not good for the kids, it's not good for the families, and at the end of the day, we've made the best decision that we could for kids, because kids shouldn't be exposed to this kind of stuff, because what happens, they'll be the next generation that goes through the same thing, because monkey see, monkey do. So now we've eliminated that process. It's actually drug-free. We still do have individuals that are getting what I call asked to leave for our 5-step process, which is you get a warning, 48 hours, a 7-day ban, a 30-day ban, and you're done for good if you break all of those rules. So we're giving people a chance to gain credibility, but we see some people that still don't want to follow rules. They're sneaking in needles, pipes, they're doing it inside, and they're being forced to be evicted. Unfortunately, there's a next person that wants a bed, wants to try to change their life, so we see those good outcomes. And at the end of the day, it's more proactive. The atmosphere is calmed down. There's not as much violence. There's the odd ones, because people are coming there that are still intoxicated. We still take them in, but they still have to follow the same rules. And if not, police will be called to have them removed. So when we look at all these positive things that are happening, we still need the proper services and support to have it properly staffed. We're still understaffed, but we're doing a good job with what we can, because we're staying within budget.
Sorry, just lastly, and how's the neighborhood feeling? Are they feeling a difference in the neighborhood as well since changes were made? Do you know?
I don't know that, because I haven't met with the neighborhood, but I think if you maybe talk to the Saskatoon police and see what the calls for service are, I think they've been static. So before, when we had complex needs, they were rising drastically, right? Because somebody would leave our facility because they didn't want our transportation services or whatever to go to another shelter, they'd choose to walk. Those, I think, have been static and have improved a lot, so we're proud of that. And if the calls for service are going down, I think that's a great initiative. And unfortunately, there's somewhere else in the city of Saskatoon that needs services, and they may or may not be getting those services.
I think 15 beds is gonna be enough for those complex needs people.
No, I don't, but it's a start. It's a good start. So we have to start somewhere. So I refer back to when we started with 50 beds, we went to 75. Now we're at 106. So we got to start somewhere with those investments and show some good outcomes and results, and hopefully it will make a difference in some people's lives, we hope. And if not, what do? We've got to try something different.